I would like to introduce you to Gamm-Smith. Chris has been a good friend, and we kind of have a long history together. She was the executive director of Community Counseling Center in Alton when I started my business back in 1997. I was working as a temp, and she became my first client and helped me get about 60% of my clients my first year. So, Chris, I can't thank you enough about that. You'll have to unmute here in a second. She is now the executive director of the National Alliance for Mental Illness, more commonly known as NAMI. And she's going to talk to us today about mental struggles that may be presenting during the pandemic and what we can do as colleagues and employers to help out people we care about.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Carolyn, and thank you to all of you for having me here today. I've been wanting to do this, to reach out and get more involved in the business community, and so this is a great opportunity for us to be able to share with you a little bit of what we know about mental health challenges. NAMI stands for the National Association. I'm going to share my screen here, and that. Okay. Well, I don't see it. So it's not up here. So I'm sorry. I have a copy if you want one. Afterwards, I can send it to you. I left
Is there a button on the bottom of your screen, Chris?
Pardon?
Is there a share screen button on the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, and I did that, but it's not on the shared screen.
Oh.
I don't know what happened to it. Oh, well, Zoom is always a challenge. I love this. Anyway, it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are an affiliate of the National NAMI for Southwestern Illinois. And I wanted to just give you a little bit of information about NAMI and then talk some about dealing with mental health issues in the workplace. Our mission at NAMI is basically to provide support services, education, and advocacy for people who are living with a mental illness, and for those people who are their loved ones or significant others who are impacted by their illness. We provide this through a number of ways. Basically, we provide education and support services. We empower people to address concerns related to their illness. And we provide a voice for people when it comes to legislation and policy issues. We collaborate with lots of different agencies, local, state, and mental health resources. And we promote the understanding and acceptance of mental illness as a biologically based brain disorder. And that to me is an important statement to keep in mind, because what some people aren't aware of is that mental illness does have a physiological component to it. And now that we're in the era where we can actually take a close look at our brain through brain imaging and see the impact, it's been really amazing, the research that has shown how mental illness can have an impact on brain development. We serve over 6 counties. We serve Bond, Clinton, Macoupin, and our main counties right now, we're serving our Madison, St. Clair, and Randolph County. So we are hoping to be able to reach more counties in the southern part of Illinois, but at this point, we need more resources to do that. So one of the things I just wanted to bring up to you today is some of the myths that, let me just finish this. Got my papers here mixed up. All of our services are free, and I want to make that clear to the consumer. Nobody pays to come to our groups or our educational classes or our presentations. And all of our groups are led by people with lived experience, whether it's somebody living with a mental illness and in recovery, or if it's a family member who's been impacted. Everybody is in recovery. And the reason they get trained in facilitating and teaching. But obviously the reason to have lived experience is because they can relate. They've been there, done that, and they know what it feels like to have to live with this and deal with it. So one of the things I wanted to just share with you is some myths when we get to the workplace, and just their general public myths too. But some of the myths about work attitudes, like people sometimes believe that someone with a mental illness cannot work. That is absolutely wrong. In fact, it's been guesstimated that about 35%, and I think that's conservative, of people working are dealing with mental health challenges on the job. So it tells you how much that's an issue. And with the advent of COVID, this pandemic has really put a stress on lots of people. We're seeing people who've never had problems with depression or anxiety suddenly feeling that now because of the isolation and the difference in scheduling and so forth. It's really starting to get to people. And so we're seeing a much greater increase in calls to crisis lines. In fact, it was ex-Representative Patrick Kennedy that said that there was an 800% increase in calls to crisis lines back in April and May. So it continues to increase. The other myth is that people with mental health challenges are not motivated, ambitious, intelligent, or capable. Not true, obviously. The mental illness has nothing to do with their intelligence. In fact, there's many people who have a mental illness that are absolutely brilliant. They're very capable, and that's one of the things we try to invoke in people is that sense of you are capable to take care of your illness and manage it. So with this combined lack of support, it keeps many people in the work environment and many people in general just afraid to seek help. They say that probably 70% of people with mental health challenges are not seeking help and not receiving any kind of treatment or support services. Another point to bring out is that depression and anxiety alone costs the global economy, you ready for this, an estimated 1 trillion in lost productivity, 1 trillion globally. In the United States, mental health and substance abuse cost US businesses approximately 100 million annually, between 80 and 100 million annually. Serious mental illness costs America up to 193.2 billion in lost earnings. So there is a lot to say about why it's important to understand what you're dealing with and realize that these are people who have an illness that is biologically based and that they need support to be able to function, but they are part of our community and capable and comprise a good portion of our working population. I want to talk a little bit about employers' perspective. For employers, just a hint of, well, just a statement to say up front is that the solution to the problems we're going to look at here with working with somebody who's dealing with mental illness is not to not hire them, okay? Because you need them. They're part of the workforce. And it's also, obviously against the law to use their illness as a reason not to hire them. But the answer really in a work environment is having a non-toxic, compassionate, accepting, team-spirited attitude towards working with people who are struggling with mental health. Cultural issues can exacerbate the problems of, and employers must consider related expenses such as legal issues, environmental and cultural factors, and whether or not the support they have is in place is adequate or not for their employees. So can you afford to offer support? The answer to that is you can't not to offer support, because that's the piece of the Americans with Disability Act that says very clearly that the employer is responsible to offer reasonable accommodations when requested by an employee with a disability. Now, reasonable means, and this is the caveat, it can't be cause undue hardship for the employer. But the issue is that if I need to work from home for a period of time because I'm struggling with depression and I'm finding it hard to be able to get out, or anxiety, I'm afraid to go out right now. Can I work at home? Flexibility in your work schedule. Being able to deal with whatever physical barriers there might be. There's a lot of things that sick leave, breaks, a lot of things that the employer can do to help accommodate some of these possible challenges. Personal injury claims, disability discrimination claims, and health safety issues are really on the rise, and they can cause problems for the employer in terms of cost, in terms of adverse publicity, and even potential enforcement action. So I want to talk a little bit about strategies to help employers deal with this. One is that greater awareness and implementation of policies relating to the issue will help a lot. People being aware, education. One of the things NAMI does is we provide presentations to various and sundry community groups, and it's basically done by a person who's in recovery, and they talk about both some educational aspects of mental illness and their own story and how that has changed their life. And those are the kind of things that really help people to understand more about the fact that you can function with mental illness. Employees become, when you provide that kind of environment and that kind of clarity on issues, employees become more comfortable talking about the issues. And therefore, the employer can provide more support to the employees because they're letting them know. Like I said, 70% of people aren't even reaching out for help, but their illness is impacting them in some way or another. An employer must listen and be accommodating. And always remember that one solution doesn't fit for everyone. You have to look at each case individually in terms of what they need, what a person with a disability needs. When considering adjustments, one of the things we recommend is that you work with a physician and seek medical advice about it so that you can have the information up front, and talk openly with the employee about the options that they have. There's some challenges for the future here, technology being relied upon more and more across all sectors, and employers being more accessible than ever. Another challenge is working without a fixed place to work out of. I know that's an issue for me, going back and forth. Outside work stressors, such as money and family worries. People are going through a lot of stress right now within their family and personally. The pressure on mental health is greater than ever. This is going to be, Forbes actually talked about this being the key issue in employment over this next year, is going to be mental health related issues. So there's a lot of pressure on dealing with these issues now than ever before. And employers need to realize that you have to be a little hyper vigilant to spot these issues. You need to know about it enough to spot when somebody is having trouble and you want to reach out to them. Well, that's actually mostly what I wanted to say with that. And then I just wanted to end in closure with, right, here we go. Well, I can't find my closing statement, but anyway, sorry about that. I was accounting on my sharing the screen, but in closing, I just want to say that NAMI is very much a recovery-oriented entity. We believe that people can recover, and that's what our job is, to give them the support they need to recover. One of our mascot for the NAMI SWE is a llama. And so you see us a lot of times out sharing llamas, little llamas with people, or little trinkets with llamas. We're llama crazy right now because llamas are compassionate animals and because they help carry burdens for people. And that is what we do at NAMI. We share in our support groups, in our educational classes. We try to share the burden of mental illness with them. We have groups, we have 12 support groups going on every month. We actually have, we have some special presentations on certain topics. So what I want to do is make sure that you get some information. I'm going to pass on our schedule to Carolyn. We also have a website. It's namiswe.org. And we also have a Facebook page, which is excellent and has all of our information, plus just general information on mental health related topics. And that is NAMI Southwestern Illinois.
Hello, Chris.
Yes.
Do you mind if I show your website right now?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate that. There we go. Okay, it's there's a lot of pages to it. We have a lot of good information, but especially information if somebody's in a crisis, what to do with that, who to call, how to get help, the different programs we offer.
Rosanda, did you hit the programs button? Oh, the helpline is probably the most important. That's what, but they're under presentations is what they have.
Yeah, if you hit presentations, oops, there we go. Okay, we've got presentations like Ending the Silence, which is a program for middle school and high school kids to learn about mental illness and recovery. It's an excellent program. And both a person living with the illness and a parent who's been impacted by it are trained to offer that presentation. We also have it's kind of spread out, but we also have what we call In Our Own Voice, which is another presentation I was referring to. We have classes for families. We have classes for adults who are dealing with young kids who have challenges. So we've got basics for somebody who's living with a mental illness and learning more about that.
Lost her for a minute, but yeah, adult classes, you can scroll down.
Yeah, so just so you know, there's a lot of good information and really encourage you to utilize that and like our Facebook page when you get a chance. And I want you to feel free to contact us. I have the phone number is on our website, but let me give it to you. It's 618-798.
I put it all in the chat column too.
Oh, did you? Okay, perfect. Then that's it. We don't need to go
Go ahead,
through it.
yeah, there it is.
But I wanted to say that also our programs are all led by volunteers. So these are people who are in recovery, who are so committed to it and so satisfied with it, they want to help other people. So that's a real important piece to us. So that's basically it. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Chris, I have one. It's one of the paragraphs up there talked about looking for warning signs. And I guess, especially in the workplace, what kind of warning signs would I look for? Because if I was seeing something out of someone, I think I would naturally assume it would be anything else other than perhaps mental illness. What kind of warning signs get confused?
Well, there's a number of things that behavior changes. For one, somebody starts to isolate more. Their productivity seems to decline. They're not showing up for work on time as often, or they're not showing up at all, calling in sick a lot. Those are indications that somebody is struggling with a mental health challenge, and some kind of condition that's interfering with their work. I think when the other piece is that some employers have an EAP program, which can help people to get assessed, and also just a short-term treatment intervention to help them deal with things like depression and anxiety. But those aren't necessarily what they need long-term. But those are good programs. The main reason people don't use them sometimes is because they're afraid they're going to get fired. They're afraid that their employer is going to look at them differently. And so there's a lot of responsibility on the part of the employer to understand what they're dealing with.
Chris, I have a question. Are there any training resources that NAMI provides for employers to help us know what to look for and what to do, just like the things you were talking about, training for our employees?
Yes, actually, we can do a support group for employees, like on site. And it would be run the way our support groups are run, but it's targeted just for employees. That's something we've wanted to get started, because we know that this is going to have a huge impact when they go back to work. There's going to be a lot more transitional issues that are going to need to be dealt with. So yes, and we have classes we can present to employees.
Chris, are you available to go speak to any of these organizations that might need something with their management team or something like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we would welcome that. Our main goal is to reduce the stigma. And the only way I know to reduce it is to give people the right information. And the right information is oftentimes very different from what people have come to believe. So I think that's going to make a huge impact if you have more exposure for your employees to what this is.
Okay.
But, okay.
Any
Well,
other
thank you
questions?
again.
Let me give one additional plug here for an organization that I'm on the board of called Challenge Unlimited.
Yes.
We do training, and we also have residential homes for some, over 100, and we also have about 600 placed in actual businesses. And so if anybody is interested in learning more about it, feel free to ask me.
That's great. Yeah, that's a wonderful organization.
Thank you, John. And Chris, thank you very much for
You're
bringing
welcome.
this information to us and helping us. So thank you for taking the time out to visit with us. Appreciate
Well,
it.
you're welcome. I hope it was helpful.
Yes. Okay. One clarification.